I'm interested by his notion of one but not the other when it comes to Farhan and Gabe, because I thought that they were more inextricably linked in terms of you get rid of the GM, you get rid of the manager, and it felt a little bit to me like Tim was more pro keep Farhan, and if you were going to make a move,
no
Gabe
doubt.
would be the one to go.
Yeah, no doubt.
Which, I haven't heard a lot of people have that opinion in terms of cleaving between the two.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who do connect the two, and I just don't know. I don't know if they are that connected. They didn't come in together, but certainly Gabe was Farhan's guy. But it's interesting because if you are going to, to borrow your phrase, right? If you're going to, did you say split the baby?
Split the baby.
Yeah, if you're going to split, so uncomfortable.
A little graphic, I know. It's an expression.
Well, if you're pitchforks, it's fire everybody. If you're, finances and they've rebuilt the farm system, well, then it's keep both. Is there something in between? Maybe there is. And I will agree with Tim on this front. I do think if there's one more likely to go than the other, it's Gabe. Do I think that's fair? Probably not. That's life. Gabe's lower on the poll, is easier to replace, and if you're going into an offseason where you feel like roster movement and free agency is vital, then I know some of you are like, well, then clearly I don't want him running it. Right, but do you want fill in the blank running it? Do you want transition as you're doing that? That's a challenge as well.
Yeah.
So I could see what he's saying. I think the more interesting thing that Tim said is this is nowhere near the fait accompli that so many think it is.
Yeah.
And I've been saying for weeks, every time you ask, I'm like, it's not 100%. It's 90%. And Tim made it sound like it's about 60%.
Yeah. I was going to say 70, but you're probably right. And he even tipped his own cap a little bit to the extent of, I wrote it 3 weeks ago, and that's when things started getting hot. And
he did.
He's been around long enough to have read the tea leaves and have written these things before, and then it actually comes to pass. But I wonder if the various Johnsons, the ownership of the Giants, would want to bring in a president of baseball ops with a manager who then becomes a lame duck, or do you want to keep the president of baseball ops and give him another chance to hire a manager, and then what? It doesn't work after a year, and so now you have a manager who you gave 4 years to, and now you want to get rid of Farhan at that point, and maybe he doesn't want to have this guy as a manager. Feels to me like they're going to be in together, and I know they weren't in together. They basically were in together because Bruce Bochy was entering his last year. Farhan got hired, and it was pretty clear that he wasn't going to be here for the long term.
Although the two of them worked together better than people thought they would.
Yes.
Like that thought, that last year is like, oh boy, right? You got Captain Gut over here, and then here comes Farhan with a plan, and everybody knows that they're not on the on the same track. But it wasn't it wasn't a great season for the Giants, but it wasn't the volatile disaster some were worried it would be.
Yeah, so it wasn't a winning year, and it was a year where, Farhan maybe acted in ways that he did because he still had Bruce Bochy. Maybe if he didn't have a veteran skipper, he would have traded Madison Bumgarner. We'll never know. I don't think we've heard definitively that he didn't trade Mad Bum because of Bruce Bochy. It feels that way to all of us, but it's always felt to me like these two are connected, and that's the way it's going to go. So, I mean, we'll find out here in the next. Well, I mean, if you're going to make a move on Gabe or Farhan, you do it in the next week. You do it when the season's over. That way, you can get some candidates, you can get in place, and get ready for the winter.
But remember, free agency, yes, the Giants season is over. The baseball season is very much not.
True.
So there's a little bit of space there.
You're right. I guess you have a month.
Yeah,
maybe, right?
I don't know if it needs to be the next week.
It's kind of an NFL thing where it's like week 18 and Black Monday.
Yeah, but think about it the way Tim said it. Tim was like, listen, this could go either way. So maybe there's a meeting of the minds where it's like, look, we're not firing you today, but come sit down here in this chair and explain to me what it is you're planning to do if we keep you.
Yeah.
And then you have that meeting, and it's like, okay, we'd like to thank you for coming in today. And we're going to talk amongst ourselves, and we'll get back to you. And then there's another week or two, and everybody's kind of got to put it together. And, were you on the Zoom? What do you think of Farhan said?
Man.
Remember when he held up a sign that said, "We love you, Buster"? Did you like that? Buster, did you like that? Like, Buster might be one of the people that has a seat at this table, for sure.
Sure.
So I think that there's some time and get away from the emotion, calm it down a little bit.
Right.
And then, okay, who presents us the best plan for the future? Because Tim is right about one thing. This angry mob, this Giants fan base is mad. I heard Fleming this morning called him cranky. And I went, yeah, that's at a minimum. They cranky, that might not even cover it. They're ticked, okay? My friends, the texts I get, they're mad. So
the texts I get are they still playing?
Yeah.
Which is not better than the anger. It's total apathy.
That's even worse.
Yes.
Quite frankly.
Yeah.
They know this. And so ownership is not going to sit there and go, yeah, $20,000 a night. Sweet. No. Like, that's going to be a no for them, dog. Period. And so you're going to have to come up with something that tells them, here's how we get out of that, and have them go, okay, I get that. Ready, break.
Well, and it's also, here's how we get out of it this year.
Yes.
You don't get to play
there's no
2026.
There's no 4-year plan.
No.
No.
April.
April.
You had your 4-year plan, and it's borne some fruit. Yet, here you are. Below 500, and not an empty building. Shout out to the Oakland Coliseum. But a more empty building than you're comfortable with. So how are you going to fix it between now and April?
And at times, I will tell you, as you and I have discussed, even when it wasn't physically empty, sometimes it was emotionally empty. I went to a game. a week and a half ago. It wasn't physically empty. It was emotionally empty. Totally.
Man, sad the way you say it.
It was. It was.
Hollow.
This is very sad. It's a
storied franchise with 3 chips in the last 13 years.
It's not even, you're right, but it's not even just that. If you live here, you know this place flippin' loves the Giants. Loves them. Everybody's got their hat on at the grocery store. Mom, dad, kid, this city loves the Giants. Okay? Even if you're on team, baseball's boring, I don't watch anymore. Maybe, fine, you can feel that way. This market has never, ever, or certainly not in the last generation, not since this ballpark opened, has there ever been a question about the city's love for the Giants. Until today. That's a hell of a bite of the apple that whoever's going to do this offseason has to take.
Especially when you look at where we are as a Bay Area baseball society with the A's either gone or a year away from being gone, or they might as well already be gone. The Bay Area population as of a few years ago was 7.7 million. So you've got a humongous area in the 9 counties, and you're going to have one baseball team. And you can't draw 40,000 a night. You can't put out a product that's going to attract people in an area that has almost 8 million people. That is inexcusable.
Right. And that's why it's right now it's less about can you win the World Series in the next year or two. It's way less about that. It is so much more about feeling big. You got to feel important. You got to be interesting. All of that. And so I wonder, hey, Grandy, can we find, do you remember 3 days before Jordan Poole got traded when Mike Dunleavy was like, yeah, he's under contract and 4 more years. 4 more years. 4 more. Remember that?
Nice.
So listen, there was a bunch to pull out of that conversation we just had with Tim Kawakami. But of everything he said, maybe the most important thing to know that he just said, this vote of confidence from Greg Johnson that we've all decided is there, he was like, No, it's not. No, it's not. And I didn't say it to him in that conversation, but the way he packaged it made me think of exactly what Mike Dunleavy said about Jordan Poole. Like, all Greg Johnson says was there's a contract. So, yeah, we expect him to be back.
Dunleavian.
By the way, I can take it to the other team, too. John Lynch, 48 hours before it happened. We absolutely expect Trey Lance to be on this football team this year. He didn't even get to the game on Friday night.
Sure.
So maybe there has not been even a little bit of a vote of confidence. Maybe there hasn't been.
Well, what we've seen on the field tells us all we need to know about whether or not there should be a vote of confidence, because the product is dull, the team is mediocre, and there are fractures now in the clubhouse that have become public. So all of those things collectively, there shouldn't be a vote of confidence.
Did you hear what he called Jock?
I thought that it was a little offensive.
He called him a fat platoon DH.
I mean, I thought it was a bit of fat shaming, and I'll be honest, I looked down at my own gut when he said that and thought, I'm glad Kawakami's not coming for me.
You're an everyday player. So
that's a good point.